Hi, my name is Ariane Cerna. This is week 8, and this is my speech for an informative speech. So I chose to pick to enrich the academic experience. So pretty much I want to inform students that there's not just common ways of learning, and that in order to broaden your learning skills and opportunities, you should take a look at several different other ways of learning and gaining skills outside of just Google, your professor, your books. There's just so many other options out there, especially for nursing students, to gain experience and field knowledge. Um, so, my first point is increasing your access to learning. So, there are several job opportunities to gain new field experience. So, many doctor's offices will teach you how to do, EKG, vaccines, give ear lavages, take blood pressures. I personally do work at a primary care office. My title is an operations assistant. So I do most of the paperwork and intake in patients, but I have also been taught how to, give shots. I have phlebotomy certificates, so I am allowed to draw blood. I've learned how to do EKGs. I help assist in ear lavages, and I do know how to take a blood pressure. And it's all because I took a job opportunity that may have not been in the nursing field, but it's still in the medical field, and it's made me learn more and gain experience in patient contact. Um, with the phlebotomy opportunity, there's so many opportunities when you're a phlebotomist. So you can go get a certificate and pay a couple $1,000s for it. Or you could work at a blood bank, and a lot of times they hire people who don't have any experience, have absolutely no certificate at hand. They train you on site, and they will certify you in that way. So you get a lot of patient contact while also learning a skill that you will need as a nurse. Nurses have to stick, they have to do IVs, they have to do blood draws. Um, they have to do all kinds of things. So being able to be in an environment in a work opportunity where you can draw blood and have that patient access is vital to starting your career. When you get a career as a nurse, they're going to want to know what your background was. So the third option is also becoming a tech. There are several hospitals out there that hire people who have no medical experience. Again, you don't have to be a medical assistant or a nurse. They train you on site. I know a lot of rehabilitation centers do this, so drug rehabilitation. Um, they do intake, outtake of patients. They do vital checks as well as do rounding to make sure that the patients are doing okay. Um, they also sit in on their counseling time, so they have behavioral health specialists usually who work in the rehabilitation centers, and so as a tech you get to sit in on those, and I think it's just a great way to experience the behavioral health field. A lot of patients, whether they're in rehab or in a regular hospital, have some form of mental illnesses, whether it's mild of anxiety, depression, PTSD, things like that. So it's a great way to gain that understanding of the behavioral health side of the medical field. Um, Next, there are several learning opportunities, so volunteer opportunities that don't give you pay, but volunteering as a nurse is super important. We're considered, the community outreach. We're a big part of that. So having that on your resume definitely helps. We've all heard of candy stripers. They were normally back in the day non medical, usually young women who wore the pink striped aprons. Well, they may be obsolete, but we do still have them in our world today. Not in major hospitals, but there are still some candy stripers out there. So you can definitely find some opportunities in that way. You assist the nurse, so you'll change bedding, dispose of waste, you kind of be her go-to girl for running back and forth getting paperwork and things like that they need. Hospitals are just a great way to gain experience, period. And a lot of times they have several fields where you don't actually need any type of degree. So there are tons of children's hospitals, especially, who need help in, you know, in their schools. They have on-site schools because children with cancer and with serious illnesses, they can't attend regular public school. So they bring the school into the hospital, and a lot of times they need help. They need aides, you know. So volunteering in that way and gaining that experience helps you to learn the pediatric side. So you get to be around kids who are trying to be normal but are very sick. So that helps you on that patient side, because children dealing with illnesses are a lot different than adults dealing with illnesses. So it's a great way to gain that experience. You can also do so by working in the playrooms and volunteering there. See how kids react with each other. See how normal kids react with sick kids and vice versa, things like that. So it's just a great volunteer opportunity and a community outreach to be there for the kids who are in need. The last volunteer opportunity that you can also do in a hospital is becoming a companion. So several hospitals have dying people in them, severely sick people, chronically ill people, and they need a helping hand. They need someone to be there, talk to them, just be a friend, because normal is not normal to them anymore. When you're sick, your life gets turned upside down. There's been several studies that companionship while being sick can actually boost their morale and help them fight what they are fighting. You can also help hold sick babies. So there's tons of babies in the NICU who are born addicted to drugs because their mother was addicted to drugs while they were in the womb. They come out with withdrawals, and it's a horrible experience. And being able to volunteer in the NICU and just hold these tiny babies who need the help the most, it boosts their fight as well. So there are several ways to volunteer and to, get in the job field without having any degree, while boosting that education and field experience and knowledge and doing it firsthand. So it's just a great way to get that education and knowledge without having the degree, but also while being in nursing school. Number 2 is feedback. So I think a lot of times, especially on online, we get a good grade and we're like, awesome, we're not going to look at what the professor wrote. I have definitely done this before. I'm trying very hard not to anymore, because I do know that it's a very important thing to learn from your mistakes, even if you are getting good grades. They're still not 100%, so maybe you're in the 90s, but you're still doing something wrong if you're in the 90s. So learning what you did wrong is very important. So getting that direct feedback from your professor is super important, and it just helps elevate your education experience. Also getting corrective criticism, whether it comes from a teacher, a professor, a friend who's reading your paper, another student. It's super important to be able to take corrective criticism as a good thing. When you know your strengths, that's great, and you can go so far in your strengths, but when you know your weaknesses, you can go beyond anything, because you're actively doing something to become better. So corrective criticism is just a great way in order to climb that ladder of just becoming better, becoming a better student, becoming a better nurse, becoming a better mom, becoming a better whatever you want to do in life. Corrective criticism is pretty important, and you need to be able to intake it without getting offended, and just know that they are going to tell you both a weakness and a strength that goes along with it. And then lastly, using your professor. I know asking questions is super important, but on an online school, it's kind of hard because you do have to wait for the professor to respond back to you. So just writing notes and making sure that you're getting as many questions in before you do send that email to your professor and making sure that you ask the hard questions, not being afraid to speak up about something, not being afraid to say that you don't understand something. It's super important to be able to have a good relationship with your professor when you're in your class. It helps you bridge that gap between you coming into the class and having so much knowledge to you coming out of the class and having that much more knowledge, going beyond what you thought you could ever do. So it's good to allow your professor to set boundaries for you, but to also push you in the right direction of gaining more information. So feedback is just a really great way to progress your learning capabilities. There are other ways, and the third most important one would definitely be our technology in this world. I feel like most people, when they have to look something up, it's always Google. You go straight to Google, you Google something, you pull up a website, and you go from there. There are so many other opportunities that technology has in order to help us learn and in help us order to progress our learning capabilities. Um, we're literally a generation that we can download an app and instantly have pretty much anything that we need. Um, there's apps for everything out there. So we need to definitely bring this more into our education. You know, there are some apps out there that I know every college student has, but I think we need to look more in depth about the apps that we could be using for this. So there's a couple of them that come to mind, like Flashcard Plus. Flashcard Plus is a great app. Not only does it already have ready-made flashcards for you, you can also make your own, but there's just thousands of them. Being an online student, it means everything isn't on paper. So having to write something down and carry it with you and try to remember where you put it or what's going on, Flashcards Plus actually has everything categorized for you. You know, it's there, it's organized, it's ready for you to use. There's hundreds of subjects, hundreds of just knowledge out there, and it's easy to use. It's on your phone. You have your phone everywhere, so it's a great app to help you study faster and study more efficient. The next one I would say would be, using iStudy, which is an app to kind of help you manage your time and organization. As for me, I need everything laid out for me. I'm constantly writing on everything, just notes of what I'm supposed to be doing, because it freaks me out to be a full-time student while going to work full-time, while trying to have a social life and trying to get myself in the gym. I need every time slot filled with something that I'm doing. So iStudies definitely helps you manage that in a very organized way, which is good because life can get pretty chaotic. And then lastly, I think the best thing for college students outside of that education is also managing your student loans. So usually a lot of us have tons of them. We have previous ones from other schools as well, because most of us are transfer students. So using Mint, it's a personal financial manager. It helps you, manage your money, your student loans, your debt, everything like that. It puts it directly in what you should be paying on everything with the income that you're taking in, what you should be saving. I think it just really helps de-stress the mind when you have something like that, so that you can study better, so that you can listen better, so that you can be more active in the classroom. Um, and then the last I would definitely say is just using the internet to your best ability. So on being an online student, we don't get many personal face-to-face time with our professor. So using YouTube to download free lectures is actually a great way to help you learn a subject in a different way for an online student, because we actually get to see a professor teaching what we're learning, and it's a different level. Sometimes you need to change it up in order to learn easier or better. And then Khan Academy. Khan Academy is a great website. They have, tons of subjects. They take the hardest subjects and they just make them easier. I had to take statistics, and it was the hardest class I've ever had to take. And it just broke everything down for me to make me be able to understand. I was going to tutoring, I was going to extra classes, and I still just could not understand it. Khan Academy got me to the level where I could start getting it, and helped me develop a way of studying it to get to the point where I needed to where I could pass the class. So it's just a great website to use. And then the last one, which I think is almost one of the most important ones, is online tutoring. Again, online students, we have a hard time because we have to wait for professors' responses to everything, which usually they respond pretty fast, but sometimes you just need that extra face-to-face time with somebody who's, there and being able to write it out for you and see it visually. I'm a super tactile learner. I need to be able to feel it. I need to be able to see it, touch it, do something with it in order for it to stick in my brain. So having the ability to, Zoom or Skype or download an app that allows you to have an online tutor, face-to-face at any time of the day, whether you're at home, at Starbucks, at your job, it doesn't matter. They're there 24 hours a day, helping you with the tough subjects, helping you with your questions, and it's live. A lot of times for online students, nothing is live. It's very hard for us to kind of get that real life college experience because of it. So it helps us to be able to have that tutoring, and as well because a lot of us are online students because of the fact that our lives are so chaotic. So when schools offer tutoring, it's usually on a 9-to-5 basis. I work 9 to 5 every single day, so I can't make that. So it's definitely a great tool to use to bring your education further and to help you better understand things that you're just not getting or you're frustrated with. So there's just overall several student success strategies in the world, most of them being right at your fingertips. I mean, you could literally download anything, Google anything. Technology is amazing pretty much. You can put in an application and get a job. You can talk to people. Networking is a good way. So there's just several options out there for students to gain knowledge outside of the classroom. And so yeah, I think that, with all of these opportunities, it's really just mind-blowing that there are students that fall behind because they're not using all of their capabilities in order to have a good education and have a higher education. So in my world, I think you have to put in the effort in order to get the grade and in order to succeed. And I think with all of these things, you can definitely succeed. So that is my entire speech. I hope you liked it. And yeah, have a good day.